Hello there. You can live your life by design, not by default. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Muirore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always, we have been having some great times here because we have some great guests who come and join us. And when I say great guests, we have a great guest with us today. Her name is Wendy O'Connor, Dr. Wendy O'Connor. And she's going to be here with us shortly to tell us how to live your life by design and not by default. Before we go and meet Wendy, I would like to ask you to please share this episode with your friends. If you have a question, please ask. If you have any feedback to give about our show, we really appreciate feedback, and so we thank you in advance. And I won't want to take one more minute because I know Dr. Wendy has a lot to tell us. So why don't you join me as we go together to meet Dr. Wendy to learn about how to live our life by design. Here we go. Hello, Dr. Wendy.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Yes, we are also excited to have you here today with us.
Wonderful.
Yes, and our viewers are always interested in knowing, hey, where is that person from? So where are you from?
I live in the tiny state of Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yep, I'm in Rhode Island. I have lived all over the country, but for the last 12 years or so, maybe a little bit longer, I've been living here in Rhode Island, and it's a sweet little state.
Is that where you were born, or it's where you settled after moving all over the place?
Yes, I was born in New Jersey. I lived in Vermont. I lived in California. I lived in Boston. I've lived all over the place, but Rhode Island is where we landed and settled, and so that's how it goes.
Sounds you've been having a great time moving around.
Yes, it's been a
How's
good
that?
life.
Which has been your best place that you've been? Now, I know Rhode Island could be the best place that you've ever, but before you came there, which was maybe one of your best places that you've been and said, oh, this is good?
This is good. I've been really lucky to live in some really wonderful parts of the country.
Hmm.
So I'd have to say, though, Rhode Island and California
Okay.
have been my favorite places. California was a really fun season of life. I was in graduate school. I was getting my doctorate in clinical psych. I was having fun. I was living the single life, just learning and growing and expanding and experiencing life. And it was so fun and free. And then now in Rhode Island, it's like, it's beautiful and it's right on the water and it's very sweet and it's a great place to raise a family. So they're just very different experiences.
Yeah, and I can agree with you that at different times of our lives, we have different experiences and we have a different perspective about each and every stage of our lives. So there's a time that we can be single and just having the world to ourselves and appreciate everything. And also, there are times when we could be having family around us and then appreciate everything around us, and especially the people that are around us. So, yeah, I get you. Uh, it's good that you've had a beautiful life.
I agree.
Now, what what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis currently?
Yeah, so I am a positive psychologist and success coach for female entrepreneurs. I started out as a clinical psychologist for many years. I had my own practice, I had two practices. I really focused on working with patients with anxiety and depression. And then my life took a turn when I had children. I got more to that place of feeling a bit burnt out, a bit overwhelmed. I had 3 children within 15 months. So I had 3 kiddos under 2. And life felt so different that suddenly my experience of what I was loving professionally really changed. And I
Mm.
started to think to myself, there's got to be a better way. Like, this isn't working anymore. So I explored coaching and this idea of, instead of focusing on helping people get from suffering with anxiety or suffering with depression to a place of really functioning, I really wanted to start helping people go from functioning, surviving, to thriving.
Mm.
So I studied positive psychology, and that really excited me personally and professionally at this chapter of my life. And now my title is a success coach and positive psychologist. So it's been a bit of a shift.
Oh, that's good. And you focus on women.
I focus on women. Yeah. When I was going through this period as a psychologist, I was treating everybody. I would treat teenagers and men and women and families and couples. And there was so much to learn. And one of the things I learned is that my experience of life, my story, really influenced who I wanted to work with, because I wanted more women to experience the journey that I went on too. So
Mm.
I decided to niche down to work just with women, mostly with women, I'll say, primarily.
That's good. And what a time to be sharing this message. This month happens to be the month that we celebrate women.
That's right.
Yes, that has been some few days back when it was the International Day, and people all over were celebrate. Well, how did you spend that? Where were you? What were you doing during the celebrations?
Yeah, right. And now it's something that it's like the way we celebrate International Women's Day is to post a post on social media and say,
Mhm.
congratulations for being a woman. So, yeah.
So you were just around with your family, maybe?
Yeah, living life. Like, there was no different day for me. I felt like every day is a celebration of women in the work that I do and in raising my 3 daughters. So for me, it was like, oh, this is just another day. There are so many days that I wake up just feeling so connected to serving women and helping women. So it's like, oh, this is just another day.
Wow, I love that. Every day is a celebration. I just hope that we look at that uh, life like that. I mean, with that perspective, that every day is a day of celebration. And it's good that you focus on women, being a woman, because there's something that we always say: if you've been somewhere and experienced something, then it's also very easy to guide someone to where you've been. And so, being a woman, having gone through whatever it is that you went through, and then coming back to give back to the society, to the woman who could be going through the same things that you went through, then that's good. And we know that you have the experience that you are coming to help other people with.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, is the challenge of bringing up a family and also growing a business at the same time? You feel burnt out, and today it's could it be that we have a more fast life than we've had in the past? What is the major issue that you identify with the people that you work with? There could be a big problem out there that people are experiencing. What could they be going through?
Yeah, so from the way that I see it, women feel a lot of pressure, and to be honest, also put a lot of pressure on themselves to be it all or to have it all or to do it all,
Hmm.
thinking that this idea of all is like really what the destination is. But when we think about, I encourage and empower women to have it all. But when I do this, it's from a place of balance. It's from a place of fulfillment. It's from a place of joy. It's from a place of intentionality. It's
Hmm.
not this like hollow idea of just have all the things, have the marriage, have the money, have the house, have the job, have the status for the sake of it. It's not about checking the boxes. It's not about going through the motions. It's not just about creating a sense of achievement for the sake of it. It's really about having it all from this place of what matters to you, who are you, what are you about, what do you stand for, what do you value. So I think a lot of times what I see women get wrong is they're chasing something that doesn't actually reflect the way that they want to live and who they really are, but they chase it because there's this pressure to lean in and to do more and to have more. But a lot of times women are like, I don't even know what what I'm chasing or what I'm after. I'm just doing it because there's pressure to be and to do.
mm,
Not that it's, they're not necessarily taking the time and deliberation to be intentional with how they create and design their lives. So
mm.
there's a mismatch. It's like there's this pressure and to have it all. But the work that I do is about empowering women to have it all, but from a very like aligned, fun way. It's not about pressure. It's not about chasing something. It's not about just checking boxes anymore.
Hmm. So tell us how to go about that, or rather, the woman that is listening right now, because I know we have many who do. Tell them how to just do that in the way that you would want us to go about it.
Yeah, so this message applies to everybody,
Yeah.
men and women, every listener. It's like
Mhm.
the importance of the message that I want to share and I want your listeners to hear is that my belief is life is meant to be seized, it's meant to be savored, it's meant to be fully enjoyed, and it's not meant to just be like the shell of an experience.
Mm.
So for the men and women listening, the way that I work on encouraging people to live a life by design is really connecting with three parts. One, what are your signature strengths?
Mm-hmm.
What are your core values? And what are your deepest desires? And these three questions, most people are not asking themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying, what should I do next? What position should I go for next? What status symbol should I have next? How many more children should I have next? And they feel so behind the ball and feel so behind the mark and feel so behind in their lives, again, because they're pursuing something that's not actually attached to who they are and what they're about. So to
Mm.
live a life by design, as I define it, is to connect your decisions, your life moves, and specifically as I work with entrepreneurial women, your businesses, to design those from a place of what are my strengths, what are my values, what matters most to me in this world and the life experience that I most want, and then what are my deepest desires. So that's the nugget of how you live a life by design. And of course there's nuances and there's layers to it and there's all the nooks and crannies of going into different parts of your life, but it really comes down to living intentionally and not letting pressure make your decisions for you, but letting your deepest desires make your decisions for you.
And when you talk about signature strengths, what could those be for someone?
Yeah. So, for example, I have all of my clients do a strengths assessment. And in that strengths assessment, you will learn your top 5 signature strengths. And we can include these in the show notes if anyone wants to do the strengths assessment, because it's a super fun way to actually assess your strengths and to recognize your natural talents and abilities. But for example, what I learned when I was in this season of being a clinical psychologist and I was feeling burnt out, that my signature strengths were not being realized. Like
Mm.
I have a strength of zest and humor and hope and creativity and appreciation of beauty and excellence. Those are my top 5.
Mm.
In my clinical space, there is room for some humor, but within boundaries, right? I couldn't fully express myself in the way that I liked to because there's just boundaries in the space of the clinical world and practice. Um, there was hope was a big one checked off, of course. That was the work that I was doing primarily with my strengths. But then there was creativity, and there wasn't as much room or space for creativity as I really needed to have highlighted in my life because, again, parameters of the environment that I was working under. So when you start to recognize, when you understand what your strengths are, and you say to yourself, okay, how is my life reflected in these strengths? Are these strengths, these top 5 in particular, being highlighted in my daily life, whether it's career, whether it's relationships, whether it's confidence? How are my strengths being highlighted in my life? That gives us a really good amount of information to be able to say, oh, okay, like here's opportunities to make some changes so that my life feels more by design if I make decisions to ramp up hope or to ramp up creativity or
Mm.
to ramp up zest or whatever the strength may be. So, learning your strengths and building that awareness is the first step. Once you realize and you're like, okay, those are my strengths, I know what they are. Now you get to go into the fun place, which is how do I play with these strengths in a different way to make my life feel more fulfilling, more exciting, more enjoyable, more successful, whatever your goal is.
Mm. We get that. At this point, I want to appreciate those who are listening or watching us, or from whatever it is that you're watching or listening us to. Uh, we have Mishka here who's saying, "Hi, friends. Happy to be joining in to listen." Thank you, Mishka, for being here. She's one lady who's always following this, and maybe she has questions. If she has, she'll ask. Now, Mishka, today we are talking about living your life by design. And we just addressed the issue of identifying your signature strengths. That's one of them. And our guest today, Dr. Wendy, talks about three things as identifying your signature strengths and your core values, and also knowing your desires. What's the difference between strengths and values, which happens to be the second point that you focus on?
Yeah, so strengths are really the way we think about this is things we're naturally good at.
Hmm.
Things that are just naturally easy to us, come easily to us. They are really what we're about. So if we were to kind of summarize some of the top key points of who we are, we would look at our strengths. Like, what are you naturally good at? What is comes easy to you? What's a gift that you have? That would be our strengths. Our
Hmm.
values are really about what's most important to us. So what is most important to you in this life as you live your life, as you experience life, as you age, as you progress, as you live through different seasons, what matters most? So I shared my signature strengths. So if we have zest and hope and creativity and humor as some of the key strengths. We think about values, but values would be things like family or freedom, autonomy, adventure. We would have the values be matching what really matters to us. Things like what brings life meaning, what feels important to us in terms of how we spend time or how we define our life. So, values and strengths are both really key pieces of living a really powerful life, but they're different in that way.
Okay. And then we have desires. What, I mean, how do I, or as a lady who's listening, knows that the desires that she is engaged in are the right desires for her, or for her family, or for those who people who they are around?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong desires.
Mm.
Like, there's no wrong desires if you're really being true with yourself and you're asking yourself, what do I most want? What do I want next? What do I want in my life that I don't yet have or haven't had as much of as I'd really like? What would those things be that I desire? So we think about desires related to goals. What are the things you typically would set goals around, or the things that you would typically say, oh, I wish? I wish my life looked like this, or I wish my days looked like this, or I wish I felt like this. When we think about coming from that place of wishing, fantasizing, daydreaming, things we might set goals around, often those are an easy way to access our desires. I will say that of strengths and values, which are easy to assess through, our assessments that are just, anyone can access them. Desires tend to be the trickiest for the women that I work with and for people. It's like, what do you mean? What do I desire? How do I know? Like, I'm just going through life doing the things I'm supposed to do. I wake up and I brush my teeth and I get to work, or I get the kids on the bus and I come home and I cook dinner. Like, what do you mean desire? And so this actually is the category that I think is one of the most fun, because you get to play in this space of just imagine. Imagine you can have whatever you wanted. Imagine you can live the life exactly how you would dream about it or wished about it as a kid. And tapping into desires is really an eye-opening experience for a lot of people, because we tend to shut that down. We tend to shut down desire because we think that's something that's for the lucky ones, for the better ones. It's not for us. We're grinding it out. We're hustling. We're doing the things we have to do. We're tired. We're overwhelmed. We're burnt out. Desire is like just not something that I'm actually hooking into, but it's a really important piece to hook into. So this actually takes, for some people, a bit of self-exploration and building awareness around who you are, because a lot of women in particular feel very disconnected from their true selves.
Hmm. Feeling disconnected from oneself. Uh, we've got to give them ideas to bring them back to themselves. We're talking about work life balance. Is there one, from your experience as an entrepreneur and bringing up a family with enough kids. Is there that balance, or how do you handle that topic?
Yeah, I 100% believe that there's balance to be achieved. I believe it's possible. And I've heard so many and witnessed so many say it's not possible. You can't have it all and you can't have balance and you can't have everything at once. And everyone's going to have a different take on this. But my take on it is when you design your life and your business properly, there is room for all of it. So right now I'm in a chapter that is is the ultimate balance. I have enough time with my kiddos whenever I want to. I can volunteer at school whenever I want to. I can have date nights. I can spend time with the family adventuring on weekends or during the week after school. Yet I still am very hooked into my work with my clients. I'm feeling really a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning and fulfillment and freedom. So for me, it's like balance feels so possible because in my mind, the way that I was going to design my life was going to be in that balanced way. I wasn't going to let myself push too far in one direction or another because I didn't want to be spending my life trying to recover all the time. I didn't want to be spending my time trying to reset all the time. I wanted to design a life that I was like, this is it. The destination is balance. And then that may take some work and intentionality, but I 100% believe it's possible. And it's possible for way more people than they think is possible.
It's possible for way more people than think it's possible. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Now, you are at work. You are a work at home mom. Uh,
Yeah, a work at home mom. Yeah, you could call me that.
yeah,
I love it.
business. But then you face challenges, or rather, we come across people who are working in offices. They work from a distance. I mean, in distance places where they have to report to office every single day. Their kids have to go to school every single day, and I believe that you've been working with some of that caliber. How do we handle that? How do you help them maneuver that and not come out as people who are almost giving up on life?
Mm. Well, I think the first thing is to really ask yourself, is the way your life and work is structured, is the way that your life is structured fulfilling you? So there are people who will absolutely say, I love being in the office every day and I love my kids at school every day and what we get, the time together we get, and it's all perfect and I'm good. But when people feel like they're in this place of this isn't the way I want my life to be, I don't want to be over here at this job from 9 to 5 or longer. And my kids are home alone for an hour or two after school and I'm not with them and I can't go to recitals or I can't go to, like, when there is that discontent, that's when we really need to, I believe, take it seriously.
Hmm.
And one of the mistakes I see a lot of people make is wait too long. Like they keep waiting and waiting and hoping it changes and hoping they don't feel so upset. And they think they should just be grateful for what they have and just deal with it. But it's my belief that you need to claim your life. And if you're not happy with the structure, there's alternatives, there's options. One option is to say, this is how I want more fun in my life, and I'm going to integrate more fun. Or one option is to say, this isn't the position I want anymore because this position is draining me and it doesn't align with my values anymore. It doesn't align with who I want to be and how I want to live. Can I choose a different position? Can I leave the company? Can I choose something different for myself? The question really comes down to what choice would I like to make? And a lot of people will get into this headspace of, well, I don't have any choices or this is it. Now, for some people, I'm not saying for everybody, but for some people, that's true. There may be legitimate limitations on your ability to make moves that still support the family and that create more freedom in your life. There may be limitations right now, and those are real. So we're not saying this kind of like universal Pollyanna approach of like, oh, it's all good, just burn the boats, leave the job, and start your own business, and you're fine. It's way more nuanced than that. But I just want to instill this reminder of there's so many more options and possibilities than most people even consider. And so because we don't consider those, we settle for a life that's not making us happy, and we settle for doing and engaging in work many hours of our lives that doesn't light us up. and we wish things were different, but we don't take the action. So it's like that person that's in the position of, this isn't it, I'm not happy here. Like the next step is to really give yourself permission to consider what other choices could be potentially made.
And just in case we have someone who's considering that, and maybe even trying to do that, what is the most convenient way of coming from such a place to going into entrepreneurship and then being there for themselves and their family, and not just following the design or the default that has been set for them? How
Yeah.
do we go about that?
Yeah. People do this all differently. The way that I lived it is the way that I teach it. So the way I lived it was to actually create a bit of a slow transition. So I knew that I was burning out of this season of my life. I knew I wanted to bring a close to this particular chapter, but I wasn't going to shut down my practices and just hang a flag that I'm now a coach and expect all that those client spots to be filled. I have 3 daughters. We have a house. We have all these responsibilities. And so for me, it wasn't just this one fell swoop, claim it and burn the boats and go. For me, it was gradual. And so for anyone who feels nervous about that transition or feels hesitant to make a shift, remind yourself that you can go as slow as you want, as long as you're moving. So my way of going through this was to just get my feet wet. What does it mean to leave the clinical space? What does it mean to become a coach? What does that look like? How do you create an Instagram profile? How do you get clients? How do you market yourself? There was all these question marks. But I didn't just shut this down to open this door expecting that 180 to just happen overnight. It was way more gradual. And that's something that I believe in as well. It's like, take your time with it. Let it be exciting. Let it be fun. Let yourself be curious about what the alternative is. But don't let it be something that you put so much pressure on yourself that it's all or nothing right out of the start.
I love that. You can go as slow as you want, as long as you're moving. Hmm, that's
You
cool.
gotta move. You gotta move.
You
That
gotta move. You gotta move.
was
You're gonna move.
you gotta
Now,
move.
one of your signature strengths is humor, if I got that right.
Yes.
Make us laugh before we sign off.
Oh my gosh. I can't be humorous on demand. I cannot be so humorous on demand.
Humor- Humorous on demand. No,
That's right. I can't be. I'm not as humorous as a Netflix comedian would be when you push play.
okay.
But I will say this:
Yeah.
I really believe, and this is probably why humor is such an important piece of my life and my business.
Mhm.
We take things way too seriously. We take life way too seriously. We're not having enough fun. We're not being playful. We're not experiencing curiosity. We have a lot of judgment, a lot of criticism. And it's like, if we could just laugh more, have fun more, connect more, like lean into what we want more, give ourselves permission to thrive more. Like all of that's available. And for me, one of the ways I love is just getting together with girlfriends or watching a comedian and just laughing and reminding yourself of like, there's so much that we don't have to take so seriously.
Mhm.
Yet we let it take up so much space in our mind. So it's like, get out of your mind, get into your life, get some laughs. Someday if I ever do a stand-up act, I will message you so that you can see what my humor on demand looks like.
We'll have
But
here.
we'll do a live show
Yeah,
together.
we'll do
But
that.
it's an important piece, living in life in line with your strengths is really a very meaningful life. And so if you don't know what they are, you wonder what they are, take an assessment, learn your strengths, give yourself permission to design your life more intentionally, and you'll become happier, more successful, and life will just feel so much more fulfilling.
And I agree with you that there are many of us who are living lives too seriously. And that's where we find people who are stressed, so overly stressed. Some are going into depression just because you don't take time to just be there and laugh and appreciate life and have a good day. So, thank you for that. We are almost coming to the end of the show. Now, to everyone who's listening, and especially, specifically, the ladies, the women who are listening to us, you've been given an idea of how to just live your life by design. But again, as I have experienced in a lot of things, it's one thing to do things on your own. It's another thing to have someone by your back telling you, "Hey, you sister, you can do it. You can get to where you want to go. You can achieve things. And that could be Dr. Wendy, because that's her area of strength. Now, before we go, how can they follow up with you? Someone who could be interested in knowing more, or maybe having you as a coach, how can they go about that?
Sure. Come say hi over on Instagram at Dr. Wendy O'Connor, on Facebook at Dr. Wendy O'Connor. Either of those are great places to say hi or just check in or follow me or just be part of that community over there. It's really fun. I love saying hi to new people, getting to know a little bit about your story. And of course, if there's anything I can do to help you, I would be happy to.
And you have a website.
I do, drwendyo'connor.com.
So drwendyo'connor.com. That's www.drwendyo'connor.com. You can head over there and connect with Dr. Wendy. She's
Perfect.
she's such a gem.
Mm.
You appreciate connecting with her. Just go there. Yes, so we are almost signing off, and we appreciate you coming. Thank you very much, Dr. Wendy, for being here with us today at Now Tell Us.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
Yes, and before we go, we would like you to leave us with something that we should always remember. I always like asking our guests that question or that. Yes, leave us with something that we can always remember, please.
Sure. I think the most important thing that I would love you to leave this episode with is reminding yourself every day to wake up and give yourself permission to not only be yourself, to be your authentic self, to know who you are, but to pursue what you most desire. To not settle for a life of shoulds, to not settle for a life of languishing or checking boxes or going through motions, but to really give yourself that permission to live a more full life by design because you want it. And that's enough of a legitimate reason to go for it.
Live your life by design because you want it. So says Dr. Wendy. Thank you very much, Dr. Wendy. We appreciate you, and thank you for coming. And we wish the best for you. We wish the best for your business. We wish the best for your family, and keep on shining as you're doing.
Thank you so much. You too.
Yes, and to everyone out there who's been watching us or listening to us, even those who get to listen us or uh, watch us after we are through, we appreciate your time. And please go design your life. Go live it by design, not by default. That's about it for today. This has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Werore. And together with our wonderful guest today, Dr. Wendy, we're saying bye for now. Bye.